If ever, so rare that we can't even remember it.
Exactly. So what is Coach Taimigo thinking? What is Team Cambodia thinking? And is this in an effort really to attack Vivian? Is the mother of tanks the beating heart of the aggression that Team Indonesia have? Is this their way of protecting their own queen? Because you can't spell queen without UEE.
I think that's a fair explanation, right?
Oh.
Especially now, like if we're talking about beating hearts for Cambodia, it's got to be Tegami. So how else would you protect Tegami other than shut down Vivian herself?
Avoiding the inevitable invading. That's right. Oh my God! These two teams are just attacking the Rome.
They should.
Is the Gatot going?
100% should. Gatot might be just a little bit too much because one of the things that Gatot can do is actually protect the lineup or the jungle really well up against a high invade, but you take away the Cho, so what else are you left in terms of the high invade heroes that will really pester? Grok isn't that. He's a vision getter. He's not really a huge pester to anyone in the jungle unless somehow you've ridiculously lost. So Cambodia says, okay, we're out of the roam options. We might run out of roamers ourselves. Let's pick up the Hayabusa. Phobius is still going to be on the table. The Gatakacha is still going to be on the table for the surprised first picks. But then the Alpha Suyo trade still active along with Jushin.
And Hilda.
And
Let's
Hilda.
not forget Hilda. Fumi Echo, one of the most aggressive XP laners I've seen, not just in the women's team, but even compared to some men that play in that same role. So now, Indonesia, one more. They're still leaving up the Alpha Gambit, by the way.
Yeah. Khalid, Khalid is I think the last name in terms of the aggressive
Big roamers.
can definitely invade and actually pester you. So that's something Cambodia would want to consider. Indonesia takes away the Angela, so they take away their combinations, any combination that could come out with Tegami. So again, all the options are out on the table, and they decide to pick the Jushin with the Alpha and Suyo open.
Very interesting turn of events.
They didn't have to rush either. The Alpha can be traded for the Suyo either way.
Exactly, that's what I was about to get at. And that's why the Hilda pickup is a lot more interesting. Indonesia, if they go for Alpha Hilda, I think that's a really good stopper if, let's say, Cambodia want to pick up something like the Suyo.
Yeah, that's the thing. What if Cambodia surprises and they may have learned a thing or two from Team Ukraine and go, hey, what if we run it back to the meta that was in the past, you know?
Or
what if we don't need to force that trade of the Alpha Suyo. We can go a little bit more utility in the jungle. Just got to make sure it's well protected. And they also have to make sure that their roamer can really help with the wave clear. Jushin's wave clear isn't the best. So Suyo is what's taken. Khalid, there we go, as we mentioned, by Indonesia. Should be a clear-cut rush for the Hilda and the Alpha. Unless they want to go mid and get the Aurora for... Oh, excuse me, they already have the mid. Yeah, well, Hilda Alpha.
One could consider also the Nolan. There's a lot of control in that Zushin. So if you're feinting an engage, you pop with the Nolan from the back. Tegami, I can see her doing that.
Yeah, and if ever the burst might come a little bit better in terms of the clearing of the minion wave. And the lack of burst from the Jushin is covered by the fact that there is burst from the Nolan.
You can also play the map better that way.
If they go Alpha Gatot.
All right, heavy front line.
Yeah.
I think this is strong. I think the three early picks coming from Cambodia, they're very strong, very invasive, very aggressive, high mid priority as well. Indonesia, what's the plan here? Especially now that they pick up something like the Sicilian. I don't think they have what we would expect Indo to usually hold on to, which is that mid prio.
But it's good though. You're not necessarily getting mid prio, but you're protected just from those three picks. The only thing that can really catch you is the Gatot, and they have to commit that ult.
I like it. In terms of the bans, you still got the gold laner open for Cambodia. Let's see if they're gonna start taking away the likes of the... Do they need to ban the Harith? Because I know there are some Sicilian players who actually don't mind going up against a Harith in the opposite team. With the Bat Feast, with the full kit of the Harith already of the Sicilian, it's quite hard for Harith to teamfight under the Bat's Feast when it's activated.
Yeah, Harith on the approach alone would be at half health even before he gets his hands on the Sicilian.
He's gonna get brought down low.
Not to mention the Khalid. So the Khalid can mess up that Harith and bother the farming. I think Indonesia's fine.
If ever they're gonna pick out a gold laner that might make it... you know, they could go a little bit more mobile with the gold laner, Cambodia. So if ever an Airthel, that might actually be warranted.
I'm wondering if I mean, you were talking about the Harith pick for Cambodia, but it's still a possibility that Indonesia might pick up the Harith for themselves, right? Put it onto Shell. We've seen a performance on the Harith as well.
Oh, yeah.
Is it a little too much magic damage? It should be fine, right? With the Suyo in the jungle?
So in the jungle, Sicilian, you got the Kali. Yeah, it should be okay. If ever they decide to go magic, and them banning out the Phobias might be a tell that the Harith is in the wings right now for Indonesia. Unless there's another Ooh, I wonder, will they actually consider an Arlot as like a last pick? Because maybe the Khalid is room. We don't see Fumi Echo's pick yet.
That's possible. That's possible. It feels like there's a hint that maybe Cambodia were sniffing that the Phobies ban was also perhaps for a 1-1, right? And that warranted a 1-1 ban here in the second phase. Cambodia, do you want to commit onto Shell completely here?
Serious?
Looks like she does. They do.
They do. They take away a very aggressive, fast scaling hero. Oh, the Bruno available. Oh, yep. Wow, I did not expect someone to bring that out already. There's the Ghost, the Jawhead, and that is going to be going to the Roam EXP for the Khalid. So Indonesia can play this defensively, but like once that Jawhead hits level 4, I wouldn't be surprised if Vivian and company just keep invading the jungle and doing what they can to pester the Jushin so that in the long run they could invade and disrupt the Alpha. No laner pickups here. Now you're really going to be overthinking in terms of what can we pick?
I guess, would you consider Melissa here?
I was actually thinking that too. When you get hit by the unstoppable force, there'll be a moment where as long as you can get the go away fast enough, you'll get pushed out, or you'll be able to push out the Jawhead before that. No,
I'm so hyped.
you get the Franco Bale combo that you were asking for earlier. So they get a strong team fighting 3 with the Alpha Gatot Jushin, and then rounded off by, if ever they need to pick off, they can with the Franco and the Beatrix. And the Gata Kacha is the right EXP laner, and the Alpha is the right jungler for the Franco pick.
And at worst, anything that Indonesia pick here for Chell goes 50-50. I don't think any hero can suddenly, beat down Navi's Beatrix. Rather, you defend these Beatrix in the laning phase. So they get out of there fine.
Oh, that's tough. So they just go ahead and sell for the Clint. This might be a Clint with no, it's not going to bad purify. It might actually just go flicker. Just in case you do get caught, you have a time to get away. And I'm not just thinking about the Franco here. You still have to get away from the Gacha's entry, the Alpha's entry. Indonesia's lineup.
Better range.
Coverage. But there's something about the Cambodia lineup that speaks to my RG boy soul.
I love it. I just don't think Jushin and Franco pair well with one another. I think the composition that the Franco requires would be with something with a little bit more burst that the Jushin does not offer. Technically, of course, there is the Beatrix, but wouldn't it be a lot more well-rounded if, let's say, it wasn't the Jushin?
So, in effect, they doubled the way to catch Team Indonesia, but not enough of the payoff. So there are going to be many moments in team fights and skirmishes where we can get you, but not kill you. I don't know what they're going to do with that space.
Yeah, the difference like it right now is that the jungler cannot have that big of a deficit. If ever they're losing the early game, it's not a bad loss. It's still very close enough to catch up. And the Matrix cannot lose lane significantly. They have to keep this close if they're coming in from a deficit.
I agree. There's a lot of more winning conditions that need to be served, ladies and gentlemen, as we enter for the first game in our best of 3 between Indonesia and Cambodia. Mirko, Naisu, are you guys ready?
Ready, we are. Eterna, Renmar, Leo. Great to have you guys break down this matchup because, yeah, this is now a best of 3. We're in the upper semis, and we're going to find out which team, obviously, is going to be moving forward to that grand final spot shortly because we're down to 2 days, man. That's all we've got left here to wrap things up for the WEC 2024 for ISF. How are we feeling about the draft? You think Indonesia has the upper hand with this one, or are we going to see something back from Cambodia?
I think the first 3 picks were amazing for Indonesia, and then they wrapped it up with a Jawhead. But then when I saw the Clint, I don't know, it's kind of a risky pick up against a Franco, up against a Jushin as well. A lot of, I said, catch potential. And on the Clint, it's going to be a flicker almost every single time.
Well, we'll find out this time around again. A lot can happen here with the adjustments because you got a best of 3. No more best of 1s here. And we'll see which team gets the upper hand. It looks like we're going to have the little time to break things down too. Taking a
sir.
quick look at those emblems. I'm looking. You know what? I love this. Every single time we do see that Franco pop up, and there was a time before where Franco was like a mainstay in the roam. You get a focusing mark emblem too. That really helps, and I think you have to also take a look at how many roam bands were focused here. And obviously, you know, that's probably the route, the way to go, especially when you have Vivian across from you. But I think, you know, with this, it really narrowed those choices for the roam now. So how do you think this is? Like, you got a roam Khalid, and oh wait, you have a roam, this is Jawhead, roam Jawhead.
Yeah, roam
Jawhead and a roam Franco. How do you think this is going to work out? Is this Jawhead going to still be in favor of this, how good Vivian can be on all these roam picks?
I think it really depends. It becomes a skill matchup in a way, right? Because the Franco can definitely open up the map in a safer way. Usually when we're talking about traditional roamers like a Tigreal, say you're going up against a Jawhead with these initiators who just, not just initiators, but even like picks like the Hylos who need to walk up and face check, it'll be kind of difficult. You get ejected, you get bursted down before you can even do anything.
Yeah.
Franco though, throw random hooks into bushes, just try to speculate and assume where the Jawhead is. If you get the Jawhead, you can try to burst them down quick. And I think that's where Indonesia actually has an advantage right now. Early game damage, instant burst, very, very easy to get. For the Beatrix, you have to wait for Franco to get a level 4, Beatrix to get a level 4, and maybe even the BOD before they can actually start one-shotting people, right? So there are certain conditions definitely for Cambodia to hit. But I think the Alpha should be able to, maybe not burst, but utilize the hook as a threat already. You get hooked, you still have to be very careful that the Alpha can just take you down. Alpha with Hunter Strike alone can deal a whole lot of damage. I think right now, I really like the fact that we are seeing the focusing mark. For the longest time, I think in ISF, WBC24 and MLBB, every time we see concussive blast get picked up instead of the focusing mark. And mostly it's because usually you're not paired up with the Juicin. I really like the Juicin together with the Franco here is because usually on the Franco, you're kind of, here on Franco, focus on what you're good at. Focus on hooking. Focus on getting that focusing mark on people. If you have to go concussive blast, sometimes it's just weird. You have to be the one that clears lane. You want to stay in bushes. You want to be hidden. So with the Juicin, it allows the Franco to be Franco. Juicin can, obviously, with the changes in the patch, now not needing mana to clear out waves, is crazy when it comes to just zoning and soul laning.
I think part of this, too, is just, I know our panel gave their thoughts about that combination of the Jushin and the Franco, but I could also see it working in favor where, like, let's say you don't have to burn the hook. You don't have to use the iron hook because you know you have a Jushin. You can actually put basically people in range or the hook or in your position, your line of sight, because of the way that the flares work. But also it might just set things up where then you go ahead and you use that bloody hunt, you lock them down after they're into the beacon or after they're tossed around with the flare, and then you still have that hook. So I think there's so many good combinations that Cambodia can actually do. And I think also part of this is, you know, we've seen the Sicilian now picked up a couple times throughout the tournament, even back in the men's games. And really, I don't think Sicilian as a hero has gotten to shine the way that it should because so many games haven't gone to the late game. Like, this is probably the most late game hero, if not one of the top 3 late game heroes, where obviously you're trying to build those stacks, get to a point where then you're just doing insane amounts of damage. And so I think you have a time for both lineups to really shine. And honestly, for Cambodia, if they play their cards right, I could see them getting control of the early game. Especially, like you said, once those level 4s come online, even if you, let's say, even if you get a hook early on, you get a first blood in the hands of any of these members here from Cambodia, I think that gives them the upper hand for the majority of the game. And then Indonesia might be forced in a situation where, all right, they got to wait a little bit, right? They got to wait a little bit to be able to scale up, to get to where they need to be. Also, Clint takes a while. But the Suyo, we always see this, can actually turn the tide early on if you get the scaling. So here we are, jumping back into the game at game number 1 in this best of 3, the upper semifinal. We'll find out, too, once again, too, with the Vival playing the Suyo, the rotation's obviously going to be important. You can see Vivian getting that early start on the purple buff. So this is all these little things that Indonesia does, and you'll see other players do this too. Even this kind of aggression and pressure on the opponent's purple buff that really stack up and leads to those minor leads in the game.
It's definitely a bit tougher to do that up against an Alpha, right? We saw that yesterday, I believe, up against Hayabusa. So it was definitely an easier road to start and neutralizing a bit of that clear threat. You can see Uwe here trying to go and, again, assuming where Vivian is coming out iron hooks. Good zoning from Vivian. Up an ejector, disengaging, sanguine claws as well as Vivo just steals away the camp. So Vivo on the Suyo already a level ahead now. And I do want to talk about this, Naisu. This is something that I've been talking about with a few coaches that I know personally.
What's
and this
that?
is like kind of a hidden tech.
Oh, you're
Franco
gonna-
and Kaja
Yeah.
with Gato Kaja. It's such a good combination. Ejector flicker, Vivian finding it, the Purify a bit late, and Nabi will fall down to the missiles of Vivian. That's first blood over to Indonesia. But to talk about that again, you hook or you get that Divine Judgment,
Yeah.
boom, AOG. Anyone tries to cancel it, you get
You get
caught.
caught. It's that's what I'm saying. Like the combination of what they can bring to the table here in this draft is there's so many options that they can use for Cambodia, but the fact too that they've got to watch out for Vivian. Vivian knows that all her roam picks basically got banned out. Well, she still got the Jawhead. She still makes use of it, and you saw just how deadly it can be, especially when that flicker is available. She doesn't need that level 4.
Yeah.
Part of it is just using that ejector and throwing someone into the whims of your team. Now, you know, they get this objective that already scales in their favor. They're getting a lead, 1,000 ahead already early on. And this is where I would look to see if Cambodia can actually go ahead, play around the Franco, hopefully get a pick off. But I'm almost wondering, even with Tagami, man. Tagami, if you guys missed her performances yesterday, she was on point. And this time around, the work is cut out for her on this alpha. She should be able to go ahead and get, you know, setups that she's looking for, especially with the lineup that they have. But she's got to have a phenomenal game against what Indonesia's throwing at them already this minute, you know, 3 minutes into the game.
And it's very different to the Sicilians we've seen in ISF WC 24, right? Usually when we see the Sicilian,
Oh no, again.
Unstoppable force and the ejector. Oh, the combo. Vivo was ready with the arrow, just shoots her down. And man, Nabi got Purify at the end there, but
Yeah.
it was just too quick. Vivo's so ahead. Tagami's gonna be bursted down by just Vivo's damage. Vivian doesn't have the flicker, so luckily Tagami will still be able to escape. But again, this Sicilian, unlike the Sicilians we've seen in WEC 24, she is just getting all the gold.
That's such good clearing right there. You know, utilizing the Suyo plus the Sicilian. Now they're going to make their way down bot.
Raging Sandstorm with a flicker to get both of them. Yui Fendi caught in the ejector. Fumieko will take a few more turret shots. Yue gets the kill. The AOG to try to save her in the bottom lane, but it's Vivo who can just blink out to safety, and they only lose Fumieko, who's again just the engager.
Yeah, her whole job there was to go ahead and use that flicker, use that sandstorm. There you go. Hook's going to land, but Yui's not going to be able to do much at all. Whoa!
At the end with the ejector, Yue is going to be taken down. City picks up that kill right now as Moshi gets chunked low by the bad impact as well. Yui Fendi zoned away by a Sicilian in the early game, and that's the orange buff taken away by Vivo.
I just want to say, efficiency right now with the
Very.
flicker here from Vivian. Every single time it's up, she's ready to make a call for a play. And that's the thing, it almost feels like this Jawhead has focusing mark. I feel like by the time she actually ejects someone backward, they're basically dead. They're already dead in the air, and that's the trouble part, especially when you can't really fight into that. Now they're going to actually try to contest this turtle here. This is troublesome.
Two-man side with Bob. Fumieko getting the Raging Sandstorm, even with the Purify, she isn't able to escape. Vivo gets the turtle, and everybody just gets slain here around the river. It's almost like they can't do anything at this point, Naisu. It's too big of a lead. The hook from Yue, but it will not connect. Vivian can see already, looking for the ejector again. Oh, good bloody hunt, but now you're going to be caught in everything. The quick draw to Yui Fendi, slashed down to the tier 2. Indonesia are just wreaking havoc in game 1.
Yeah, 5 minutes in, it doesn't feel like they're letting up at all at this point, and they're just pressing the situation. And you know, Vivian, she's got a couple options. It's either the flicker, the conceal, she makes a play, the rest of the team follows through, and you're just overloaded with damage. You know, this whole time too, Shell, she's been chilling. She's been having the gold lane experience down at the bottom. She's joined a couple of fights, but she really hasn't had to because there's just so much already happening that Indonesia is able to do. Further than that gold lead now, very comfortable, even with that tier 1 falling. It looks like there's going to be a push up top, but Vival tries to stop that from happening in the top lane. It looks like she's forced off. So we did it. They might actually just rotate up there. They're staying there.
It's a 2v1, and anyways, it was cleared out. The Raging Sandstorm comes out, and Fumieko gets the kill. Moshi, oh no, it might be too close of an AOG. Not far enough to escape, and it's a double for Fumieko.
Man, oh man, it's just Indonesia, like I said. Every place on the map, that's where they're going to put pressure. There's no opportunity really to breathe for Cambodia right now. Even with this lineup, we got to start thinking, because this is most likely resources taken from them. more pressure on their side of the jungle. Looks like even the tier 2 might go down here if they continue to just knock it down. I think at this point, Cambodia, you know, they don't want to contest this next turtle. They might want to just focus on, all right, what's next? What's the next possibility for us here? And honestly, that's probably by the time the Lord comes up, they might be able to do something. But, you know, again, it's this damage that is just overloading. And even if you actually go ahead and kind of prep yourself up for that objective, Vivian is the problem. There's got to be some form of punishment for Vivian, and if she jumps in and tosses one of the members, it doesn't even matter at this point if she tosses one of the tankier heroes, right? You might be able to go ahead and toss Moshi. That might be the best target in Cambodia's favor, just because, you know, at least you can hope to tank that out or defensively Avatar the Guardian. But it's just so difficult for them right now, and they're going to be forced to actually just stay together because Indonesia doing the same thing. And you see that response from Cambodia. They're going to go ahead and rotate down, try to keep this tier 2 up. But it's just eventually going to get taken down as well, as Indonesia has all the choices they want for objectives or kills at this point. So Cambodia, they got to buy time, and that's a whole lot of time they have to buy.
Even if they buy time, though, if you take a look at the grand scheme of things here, Naisu, I'm not too sure what they're buying time for. I mean, the power spikes aren't going to be big enough, and Slavo Force over to Yui Fendi could Bloody Hunt to cancel it out now. That's going to be 1-for-1. They're going to be caught. Oh, Yeko caught in the AOG in the midst of it all. It's tier 2, just chucking their HP bars low. Chell doing a whole lot of damage with a quick draw. Bivol coming back again to clear out the waves. 2 for 2. Only the frontliners taken down. But if we get to the later stage of the game, Clint's gonna be crazy. City, bad impact over the snipe. Nabi's burning down from the going one. It's not enough to take her down, but man, it surely is enough for them to zone Cambodia away from the tier 2.
Holy Shield's gonna pop here, so they'll at least get the shields down. But like you said, I agree with you, man. I think at some point in the game, you're going against a scaling lineup. You know, with the Sicilian plus that Clint, you're playing a game of range too. Indonesia, even if they didn't have this kind of lead, they have the lead in terms of range. And that's also why, you know, for the first draft, you see them pick up that Franco to hopefully close in some of that range, pick off targets, but that just hasn't happened. And the hardest part for Cambodia is really once they even break through that front line. Mind you, that front line is actually putting themselves in danger from Indonesia, so they're most likely going to go down anyway. But then how do you get to the Sicilian? How do you get to Shell here on this Clint? That is the most difficult part to what Cambodia can do. And honestly, if they try to force this at this point, with this kind of deficit, this could be a massacre for this Lord. So it looks like it's going to go and be taken by Indonesia. No contest. It looks like Cambodia is going to try to make a move elsewhere. At least for now, that Lord is secured by Indonesia. Real quick, before that Lord pushes in, what are we looking at here for defense? Do they have enough clear? I know they got a Beatrix, but do they have enough clear to actually stay in this game without it ending?
I think they do. If we're just taking a look at Cambodia's lineup, they do have what it takes to clear out the waves. But we have to take into account that Indonesia are really good at sieging too. They got crazy range. The double C combo,
yeah.
Sicilian and the Clint. So much range, so much zoning potential, and even they got that dive potential in there
that
too.
Sandstorm, yeah.
Echo, Raging Sandstorm, Vivian, Unstoppable Force. Even Vivo, very, very underrated initiator as a Suyo. Once you hold in that first skill, you can get it's an AoE stun tool.
Yeah, it's a little bit too much. Here we go, Vivian using the conceal. She has an immortality too. She's gonna toss Moji, but already gets the Avatar of the Guardian out.
Yep.
So that's not available now for this base defense. The shields up top and mid are gone on the turrets. And this is the siege now that we're talking about from Indonesia, from a range as well, and just whittling down the health bars of these turrets.
Sagami already caught down very, very low. You can see the way that Indonesia are just sieging at the space. So waiting for the Lord to the bottom lane to just slow push, taking it very, very slow. In the mid lane, they will continue this push. Bottom lane built up waves here, no more holy defense. Sitting with a bad impact, just slowly chunking Tagami down. Mid lane gonna be taken down. Vivian walks in with Unstoppable Force earlier, but Tagami was able to escape with the Spear of Alpha. Bottom lane base turret down as well. That's 2.
All right, they know they have 2 turrets down. Vivian!
Yep, ejector flicker, US going to just be isolated from the team. Moshi, very low. These frontliners slowly but surely chunked down. There's still some big waves that are going to be crashing down in the mid lane. Another super minion wave onto into Cambodia. Moshi's hovering over Nabi. Chunked again. He checked already. Gatan overreaching. Sensor from Pumieko. Does Wintercrown stop that from happening? And Wintercrown as well from Pumieko to respond it over. Moshi gunned down. Pumieko will be taken out. But look at that impact. And the Sanguine Claws. On top of that, the Quick Draw that just chunks them too low. No more minions. Cambodia can still survive, but Indonesia will continue with just the turret up top. Another Sanguine Claws. Oh, the flicker, but it hits the wall now. Bloody Hunt coming down with Spirit Bomb over the pinball. Goes in and dives in the back line. Finding the shot in the base. The base is also just wide open for Bibble to take. Game 1 to Indonesia.
I thought there might be a moment there where Cambodia actually stayed in that game. They cleared the wave the best they could, but unfortunately, not enough to stay in it. You know, not enough to keep that game going and make it work for them. And really, when you just look at how things fell into place from start to finish, the idea was there for Cambodia. The draft was, you know, we want to go for these pickoffs. We have a Franco. We're able to do that, but it just didn't go in their favor early on. And, you know, this is... Maybe you beg the question because there were so many Rome fans towards Vivian, but even a Jawhead, a hero, by the way, that you don't see too often, she still played it the same way. You know, she still played it very aggressively, able to set things up, and it's all about timing and pacing for teams like this from Indonesia, and that's what's difficult to play against. So I'm really wondering, again, we have a best of 3 here, so we'll see if they have the right adjustments for Cambodia to bring it to a game 3. So just a great performance here, once again from Indonesia. Then this is what's expected from a team like this that has had so many victories over the course of their experience and the achievements. Very clean gameplay. I love to hear our panel thoughts about game number 1. Let's throw it over to them and see what they have to say.
Thank you, boys, for casting over that first game in our best of 3 series, and it's a good win and a good swing of momentum for Indonesia to perhaps make it 2-0 if the adjustments aren't made. I like how the casters put it. It needs to be quick. It needs to be quick because they only have a few minutes to really think about the game plan, because the game plan that they went in for game number 1, you know, banning out Vivian altogether, it didn't work out for them.
Yeah. Came back to bite them. I feel like if the Jawhead was also one of the last second plans for Indonesia, but I'm pretty sure it was already something in their books. At the same time, I feel like that Franco was more like, we took out a lot of it. They got the guy scoring XP. Yeah, let's go ahead and pick up Franco. And it kind of showed. Like I told you this behind the scenes, Leo, that it looked like Cambodia weren't used to going up against a Jawhead of this caliber.
Yeah, no, Vivian clearly invaded their lineup. It wasn't even invading into the jungle, giving Tagami a hard time. She gave everyone from Team Cambodia a hard time, and I guess that's what it is. We mentioned prior to the game starting, Indonesia have so much range, so much utilized range, because you have heroes like Eve, Farsa, who have a assumed range. Indonesia showed that, hey, with a single flicker, we can change the way you perceive team fights happening from. Even have Pumieko to do that. Even the Clint in Chel's hands played a very key role in, you know, making Cambodia think, can we take these fights? Should we take these fights? And back to the draft here, just a reminder, folks, the Franco and Bea came in as their last 2 picks from blue sides. That means, it's in order to support what you were saying about maybe they weren't ready for the Jawhead, they went in hard for a combo that they're so used to that they didn't consider, hey, what if this doesn't work out? What if that Jawhead breaks everything that we prepared?
Yeah, Eterna said something earlier about what Berko Nice said, that gotta be quick, gotta be snappy, and I feel like that doesn't just apply to the adjustments that they're doing right now to prepare for game number 2, potentially game number 3. It applies to the playstyle that you should be playing up against a team like Indonesia. Slow build up. That is no one's tempo against Indonesia. If you're going to be going up against this squad, you're going to have to match it. I feel like if ever next time the Jushin is open, or if rather Cambodia would just take the Jushin out so that Indonesia doesn't get it, vice versa, Cambodia needs to look back into the pick that may not be shine. If you can prioritize not be getting the Aurora, heroes such as Valentina, Vexana even, those instantly give you results. Because if it's not a Terrify, it's a knockup. If it's not a knockup, it's for sure going to be Burst.
And I think that would have worked so much better into their composition. Again, I love the Franco Beatrix pick, but I wasn't exactly liking the Jushin. I just didn't know how it would fit. I understand that maybe the Jushin pick early was something, of course, you take, seeing that it was open, but at the end of the day, it really didn't feel like they could have capitalized over the aggression that they could have had with the Franco. And remember, Indonesia came into that game with absolutely no purifies. All of them went for flicker. And like that shouldn't have been okay. That should have been punished for. And yet it felt like either, I don't know. I personally saw that particular match and I didn't really feel like the Franco was getting the right hooks on the right people. I feel like the targeting was kind of off. And I don't know if that was just because of her or it was a forced error by Indonesia.
To be fair, there were no good targets for the Franco. You hook a Khalid, doesn't care. You hook a Suyo, doesn't care. You hook a Sicilian, not gonna happen. There's like 3 or 4 bodies in front of the Sicilian to do that. You hook a Jawhead, Vivian is thankful. The Clint, not. It's the same situation as Sicilian. So, here's the thing. Looking at Cambodia's draft, I think that's where we gotta start. You change 1 or 2 things. Scratch that. Just change 1 thing, and it could have been better, right? Change the Alpha into a Nolan. Would have been extra burst. Would have been extra payoff for that hook. You change the Zushin into what? The Aurora or the Vixana or the Valentina. Could have been better payoff too. Because you have better map control, better minion control. Not the player, but you know, the objectives on the map. And maybe you change the Franco